Subscribe to our YouTube channel and press the bell icon to get the latest updates.
In this edition of Global Print, I'm going to tell you the story of two Hindu gods and how they're rescuing Prime Minister Narendra Modi's foreign policy in the Indian subcontinent. Now, you probably think I'm joking, and you will only be partially wrong. Let me explain how. Let's take the first Hindu god, Rama. What is happening is that in Nepal, Nepali Prime Minister KP Oli has taken over Lord Ram and believes that he's Nepali. Now, what happened was that on Monday, Prime Minister Oli was having a cultural function in his house in Kathmandu, and he started talking about cultural encroachment from India. And he said, well, we have given them Sita, that is, the Nepalis have given India Sita, but we have also given them the prince, referring to Lord Ram. Now, let me give you a little bit of a background. As you all know, that Sita in the Ramayana epic, was born in Janakpur. Now, in today's geography, Janakpur happens to be inside Nepali territory. So for many, many years, Nepalis have said that one of the reasons for the very close India-Nepal relationship is because Sita is Nepali and Lord Ram is Indian. But now, Prime Minister KP Oli has also incorporated Lord Ram, made him Nepali, and further goes on to add that Ayodhya Nagari, which is the birthplace of Ram, as we know, it's a small town 200 odd kilometers from Lucknow, is actually a little place, a little village west of Birganj, which is a border town bordering Nepal and India. So Prime Minister KP Oli has completely is trying to rechange the epic Ramayana, if you like. Now, why do you think KP Oli is doing this? Let me give you a little bit of context. What is happening in Nepal is that for the last several weeks, a power struggle is taking place in the heart of the Nepali Communist Party. This means that Prime Minister Oli, who came to power on an anti-India platform in 2017, has ever since been far more critical about India in every which way. And this came to a head a few weeks ago when he decided that he will take over Indian territory in the Uttarakhand region and incorporate it into Nepal. So much so that he persuaded or browbeat or cajoled not just his own Nepali colleagues in the Nepal Communist Party, but even in the opposition, the Nepali Congress, and said that India is a big bully of the region and that we must stand up to India, and that therefore these territories in the Uttarakhand region actually belong to Nepal. This is from Kalapani to a place called Limpiadhura. So a few days ago, the Nepali Parliament passed a resolution which said that these Indian territories have now become part of Nepal. Naturally, the Indian government, Prime Minister Narendra Modi, was very, very upset with Prime Minister Oli because the India-Nepal relationship is so close. It's often cited, it's often described as a roti-beti ka rishta. However, with Prime Minister Oli's anti-India remarks and the incorporation of Indian territories into a Nepali map, things became much worse, and the Indian establishment decided that something had to be done. So according to my information, they started, which is that the Indian establishment decided that the other power figures in the Nepali establishment, which is Madhav Nepal, all of them former prime ministers, by the way, Madhav Nepal, Jhalanath Kamal, as well as Pushpa Kamal Dahal or Prachand, must be supported and told that they must moderate Prime Minister KP Oli's anti-India position. Now, this is a very sensitive time in Nepal, and let me tell you why. The first is that the Chinese ambassador to Nepal, a woman called Ho Yanqi, who is hugely influential, and what she has done, or appears to have done, is to persuade Prime Minister KP Oli to mount his opposition to India. As we know that India and China are already at daggers drawn, not just in Ladakh, but on various other fronts, including China's expanding influence in South Asia, which India doesn't like at all. So the Chinese ambassador is pushing KP Oli to take on this much more drastic anti-India position. However, on Wednesday, which is the 15th of July, a big meeting of the Nepali Communist Party is going to take place, in which these other prime ministers of Nepal are planning to tell KP Oli that you have to moderate your anti-India positions because this is not diplomatic and it's not political. We'll see what happens. But meanwhile, KP Oli has has not just incorporated Indian territories, but has decided that Lord Ram, that's the first of our Indian gods about whom I'm telling you the story, is actually Nepali. The second Hindu god is Krishna. And Krishna these days is playing a role in Pakistani politics. What is happening is that the 3,000 strong Hindu minority community in Islamabad, which is the capital of Pakistan, wants to build a temple to Lord Krishna. Now, let me give you a little bit of history. In 1947, when the country was divided, there were about 1,200 religious sites, meaning temples and other religious places that belong to the Hindu community. When partition took place, there was a large exchange of populations, but there was still a large number of Hindus who stayed back in Pakistan. And on the 11th of August 1947, which is 4 days before India becomes independent on the 15th of August, and 3 days before August 14th, when Pakistan becomes independent, then the grand old man of Pakistan, Muhammad Ali Jinnah, speaking in the Karachi Assembly, makes a famous speech which has resonated through the decades, where he says to the people of Pakistan, or the to-be citizens of Pakistan, including to all the minorities, that you can go back to your temples and to your mosques and you will not be discriminated against. Now, this speech of Jinnah's, which, as I've said, resonates across the decades, and which every martial law dictator from Ayub Khan to Ziaul Haq and even Pervez Musharraf has been reminded of intermittently by the civil society and by the opposition, which refuses to let go of this Jinnah speech. Now, to come back to the present, what's happening in Islamabad is that the Hindu minority community wants to build a temple to Lord Krishna in Islamabad, and Prime Minister Imran Khan, to give him credit, actually allots a piece of land, is even willing to sanction a sum of money, about 100 million rupees, which is not a small sum of money, until all hell breaks loose. And the extreme right-wing Muslim, Islamist fundamental parties like the Jamaat-e-Islami, Fazlur Rahman, like the LA Hadith, the parties who were very much part of the whole Lal Masjid affair in 2006, have said that according to the Sharia, this is an Islamic Republic of Pakistan, and there can be no temples, which means that the minority community, the Hindus or the Sikhs or the Christians, if they want to pray, they better pray inside their houses. There will be no public place of worship. This is where the story stands right now. What is fascinating, and here is another last tidbit, is that a man called Khwaja Asif, a former defense minister in the former government led by former Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif. Now, you know that some months ago, Nawaz Sharif was believed to have done some sort of a deal with the Pakistani establishment, which basically means the Pakistani army and the ISI, where they said to him, his health was deteriorating, he was in prison on trumped-up charges, and they said to him, you want to keep your health, you want to keep alive, you have to leave Pakistan. So Nawaz Sharif is in London these days, and his former defense minister, a gentleman called Khwaja Asif, stood up in the National Assembly, which is Pakistan's parliament, a couple of days ago and said and pointed to the photograph of Jinnah hanging above the speaker's chair and reminded him of that August 11th, 1947 speech, where he said that the founder of the country, Jinnah Sahab, would have been embarrassed to see that such a situation exists in Pakistan today, where citizens of Pakistan, Hindus, are being discriminated against by their own citizens, in this case Muslims. So the temple to Lord Krishna, which the Hindus want to build in Pakistan, in Islamabad, is for the moment on hold. And how do you think that both these gods are rescuing Prime Minister Narendra Modi, you will ask me? Well, Imran Khan in Pakistan is clearly a puppet of his own establishment, his own army and ISI. On the one hand, he has no problems if the Hindu minority community builds a temple. but he is not able to stand up to these right-wing Islamist fundamentalist parties. So what is he going to do? He is going to wait until the army chief, Qamar Javed Bajwa, General Bajwa, holds Imran Khan's hand, stiffens his spine and tells him, okay, you can go ahead. Until then, Imran Khan is most likely going to sit where he is and not say a word. Similarly, in Nepal, Prime Minister KP Oli, having adopted Lord Ram as a Nepali god, is now going to wait and watch over the next 24 hours how the Nepali Communist Party splits in favor of him, which is an anti-India position, or in favor of the other former prime ministers. Meanwhile, here in Delhi, Prime Minister Narendra Modi watches and waits. And while he does that, he has spoken on Monday, less than 24 hours ago, to the CEO of Google and Alphabet, Sundar Pichai. And Sundar Pichai tells him that I'm going to give you $10 billion. That's about 75,000 crore rupees to build a digitization fund for India to promote digitization. Now, what would you do in Prime Minister Modi's place? Modi is, of course, thrilled to bits. This is not just a distraction to the politics of the Hindu gods playing itself out in the subcontinent, but this is a reaffirmation of his policies as Prime Minister of India. That's all I have today for you in Global Print. Please read my column in the Print's website and watch me here. Please tell me what you think of this show. Send in your comments, your suggestions, and do subscribe to our YouTube channel.